Miad, my trading warrior brother, Miad Kasravi, is with us. He interrupted his vacation just to be on F.A.C.E. How about that?
Perfect.
All
great,
right.
Great. I wish him a good resumption of his vacation in half an hour then.
He'll resume, yes. Okay, Steve. Thank you, Stell. Guys, have a great weekend. Miad,
You too, Dale.
Thank you very much. And Miad, thank you so much for making this. We could have rescheduled it, making it important enough for you to interrupt some leisure time, which we all need. How are you, brother?
Hello, Dale. How you doing?
Good, good. So, wherever you're vacationing, that you had to come home? Somewhere in Scotland, where you live?
Yeah, it's somewhere around Scotland. It's called Saltcoats. It's sort of like beach area, you know, chilling out with the kids. You know it.
Nice, nice. So we haven't talked for a while. It looks to me like you have. Is that a fairly new website? Different business model. You have a partner, and you're mentoring and teaching people. Is this fairly new?
We're a little bit expanded there, yes. So we have a bigger team now. A bit more people joined and helping out to reach more people, helping out to get the. You know, sometimes when you analyze, you're so structured and just doing your work, you kind of lose sight of actually feeding it into your audience as well. So I've got a good team together now to help me doing that a little bit more concentrated, not necessarily marketing, but concentrated, making the stuff I do a bit more relatable to everybody, if that makes sense.
Right, right. So do you want to make sense of the U.S. dollar Chinese yuan during this potential trade war worsening with new sanctions most likely coming on again next week, another 250 billion. We've had a little respite from almost getting to 7. Do you think the Chinese are going to be able, they did something to take the downside pressure off the yuan a few weeks ago or so. It doesn't look like it's that effective, at least for now. What's your view? There's so many currencies on the FX oven bubbling that, you know, one day it's Argentina, one day, you know, it's a lira, the yuan. What are your expectations with what's happening with U.S. dollar yuan? Are they going to weaponize it some more? Are they going to try and control its weakness?
That's a great question, Dale. So what's been driving the U.S. dollar throughout the year? Well, a little bit, a lot trade war, but a lot it was U.S. repatriation. Last year, Donald Trump gave them literally cash, tax-free repatriation. That means if you have a company abroad, you made some money, you're going to bring that money back home as no tax, no questions asked. So it's obviously going to create billions and billions, actually over 450 billions from what I've read lately, that repatriated back into the US. So regardless of what would have happened, I think you would have seen the Dixie outperform.
Okay.
We recently had some more reports that there's still some more money coming back up until about November. So that's still an upside pressure for the dollar. On the other side, obviously, you have the trade war, which means whenever something happens, you find that dollar is getting a bit of a safe haven bit. Regarding the yuan, what have they done? What the Chinese, what the PBOC done basically? They've made it more difficult, more expensive to speculate against the yuan. That doesn't mean that people who have got money in China can't take it out. They still can do that, and they probably will continue doing that if they see the business there is going to die down a bit. On top of that, you also have that China started to. They're trying to build a bit more, boost the infrastructure. That means they're going to be spending some money, provide a little bit more liquidity, and naturally that's devalues the yuan by a bit. So that 7 level, in my opinion, I don't see why it should hold at all. It won't be the rise shouldn't be as dramatic going forward, but I don't see why we'll hold it all. And the Dixie should move forward a little bit higher going into November. That's my base case, and that's how we've been trading it all the way.
Okay, so into November, so we have what, about 5-6 weeks. Are we going to challenge or take out the Dixie 97 high? What do you think?
That would be interesting to see. That would be very interesting to see. Technically wise, it looks very heavy up there. So I would like to see how that's going to work out. However, I don't feel like we've topped out yet at all.
Why do you say November? The midterms?
It's the midterm, so we find that once things die down from the end, I feel like trade war is going to come to some sort of conclusion. NAFTA by then, I believe NAFTA by the end of this month would have come to some sort of conclusion. And market already starts pricing in the themes for next year, which are most likely going to be pound bullish, euro bullish, and should hammer down the Dixie by a bit as well.
Okay, so the pound has really kind of come to life in the last week or so. Do you think there's going to be a Brexit solution? I mean, isn't Scotland part of the whole mix over there, or you're independent, or? But
No,
I know you
we're
keep
all part
tabs
of it.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all part of it. What happens is, as somebody who lives in here, you obviously get frustrated by all the news. There's little going on. You feel frustrated by your PM. She's not very effective in what she does. However, I always look at it from the perspective of an investor. If an investor feels that there is a risk of Brexit, of a hard landing on Brexit, they're going to price that in. They're not going to start pricing in a positive effect. That's why you see a lot of pressure on GBP. You've seen downside protection in the options market, which I usually look at when I want to see where currencies are driven. Until lately, where Barnier made some comments, downside protection has been picking up consistently. Hence selling pound was a bit easier. Now with the picture a bit more foggy, you might see pound a little bit consolidate. But as long as these options pick up on the downside protection, so will Brexit. Again, as an investor, you want to price in the worst. You're not going to go all euphoric on it.
Okay, what strike prices have the largest open interest? Where's the
I think we were at 1.7. I think we were 1.7. It dropped to 1.4. I think before we dropped. Before I opened it, I had a quick look. I'd like to see how this develops, obviously, over the weekend. I don't feel like, however, it's going to the strike price is going to neutralize anytime soon. So options to the downside or put options going to be a little bit more lucrative still until there's literally some black and white written.
Okay. Do you mind if I switch gears? Do you still have family in Iran?
Yes, I do indeed.
All right. So what's it like on the ground for your family with everything that's going on there, the currency falling apart and President Trump putting pressure on them so that he's trying to get people not to buy their oil. There's been a lot of unrest, not just the elites, but throughout the country. What are your relatives telling you about what's happening there?
You find that inflation picks up dramatically. The rial, which is the Iranian currency, dropping significantly. So it's getting the value day by day. And the country, the government of Iran cannot hold this back because they don't have significant foreign reserves to do that.
Yeah.
Which means they're going to keep on dropping. It's not tradable for us forex traders. But from my perspective of view, if you want to help out the family with sending money over, it's much easier now because it's much more value. If that makes sense.
Okay. So they still have open borders for support where you could help your family out. So is bread like tripled in prices and just your basic staples like what's happened in Venezuela and some of these other countries?
Just to out my mouth. Yeah. So something like Venezuela is right now happening in Iran. Obviously, what the US and also partners trying to do, they're trying to get them down to a negotiation table where they can do sort of the same thing they've done with North Korea. Problem is with Iran, because the population is much bigger, the country is much bigger, and they've got significant oil resources that can go on for years and years before the government will crumble to anything.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you for that. And, my heart goes out to the people. Sometimes sometimes even in America, you could be subject to tyranny. So when there's tyranny, and we haven't felt any kind of currency crisis. But let me ask you something I haven't talked to you about ever. Can you wrap your head around crypto, Miad, and what are your views on it? We talked about it was a bubble because it declined 80% from the highs. What are you telling your students? I know people are probably asking you about at least Bitcoin. What's your view and philosophy on cryptocurrency?
So when I picked up on crypto, trading it actively and then falling out, and it all happened in January this year. So we started analyzing in December. We've noticed there are fundamental patterns that play along. So we started buying into XRP.
What's that, Ripple?
that's the Ripple, which was quite good. It topped out, I think, 370, 360, thereabouts. We had to scale out of there. And the thinking back then was that this can move up to 5, but then obviously then the problems that happened with all the with BitMEX and all these other companies in Japan that were dealing with the cryptocurrencies, that you've started to notice that the safety levels are extremely low. Everybody's trying to rush get out of it because of that very reason, and funding was trying to dissipate. So now whenever we try to play Bitcoin or all these other currencies, we try to look into these impulses where some positive happens. I don't know, there was an ETF supposed to happen, or I believe Goldman Sachs was supposed to open a crypto desk. So these are these positives. If you see these happening, you buy into that, and when the euphoria of it dies down, you can sell into it again. It's
because right now, what exchange did you use? What crypto exchange did you use to make your trades, and do you feel comfortable leaving funds in there overnight?
I'm afraid none. I purely play through CFDs. I don't own any cryptos. I'm not looking to add any either.
Okay. All right. Why don't we get to the commodity markets right now? Any views on?
If you don't mind.
Go ahead.
There's a big thing lately happened in the gold market, that on the CFTC report, it showed that there's been extremely shorts. But it doesn't mean they can't add to the shorts, but it also means you want to have a look at what could drive these shorts more. Why would a bear add more to his position at this point? And always I like to look at, when I look at big swings on gold, I like to look at that gold ETF. It's traded on the ASX, the Aussie market.
GLD.
That's it, and it is the monthly candle. I don't know if you can see my screen. That is
got it.
There is a monthly. You've had a trend line quite picking up for several years, since 2013, and up and down you were able to quite catch this quite good. But this last month we had this nice pin bar. It doesn't mean it's going to go up to the moon, but it means there's something happening here. So we had a hard sell-off, and we had a bit of a rejection. That coincided when the time that Chinese delegates went over to America to start talking. So you can see there's a bit of a relief. Market is waiting to see what happens with those tariffs. See, even if the 200 billion tariffs go ahead, they're going to happen in tranches. They're not going to happen all at once. So their timing is going to be key for market to start pricing things in like that. So that'd be very interesting to see if that's going to actually manage to pull away, or if you're going to have to crash down on that trend line altogether. So it's something looking at.
That's interesting that you brought up the monthly like that, Miad, because, when you look at shorter term charts, it looks like it was waterfall decline for a while. And you go out to your telescope, and we've been sideways since 2011. That's it. No bear trend. I don't see a bear trend yet. If we took out that monthly low, then we could get smashed. But so far, it looks like there might be a chance for a little bit of a relief rally here. Is that what you're anticipating?
I agree, especially if the 200 billion tariff is not going to come as aggressive as everybody thinks. If it's going to be not so harsh, I believe the gold bears who are holding a lot of short positions have less incentive to add, or even probably to cover, and that will drive that back up. So that's the ETF. Also have the gold itself. I was actually short in the beginning of this week on gold myself, hoping that we're going to catch somewhere 1180, because I know.
That's where I'm looking to buy it, under that low. It still could get there.
Well, I hope it does, because I know there's a lot of Indian physical gold buyers have great interest in that level, and it's more of an organic move that you should shoot up from there rather than just playing the levels. So we're kind of monitoring and see what happens around this level by also looking at what happens on the tariffs. That doesn't mean that dollar and gold can't rally together. It happened before. But it needs a bit more. I wouldn't go mad bullish on it, but I think there's a trade to make.
What's your green dotted line represent at 1283? A target?
Let's find out. I have always these ghost lines, and I sometimes forget what they are.
Wow! It's not even Halloween yet. Halloween's at the end of October, bro, and you have the ghost on.
A couple of months ahead of you.
Yeah.
That represents the level where I'm thinking we're going to see some reflection if you're going to have a pickup in there.
Okay.
That looks to that. last thing I wanted to talk about, another thing I wanted to talk about, gold. I think I'm going to be following the ETF, gold itself, and also AAU. I highly recommend checking out that chart because it seemed to be very moving aligned with gold itself. Another thing I wanted to talk about is USD CHF, or probably franc in itself. Something interesting happened.
Oh yeah, that's a favorite of yours. Yeah, you talked about it last time. It's one of your favorites. It
is indeed. Yeah, I love that. I love it a lot because when it moves, it just starts moving. It doesn't bounce about. It literally gives you clean big lines when it starts breaking out. So you had this consolidation for quite some time, and while the consolidation was going on, what I always do is I look in. But consolidations eventually break. We always know that, and they sometimes break with good force. What I'm always looking at consolidations like on these box movements is where are the hands? Who's buying? Who's selling? What are the reasons for buying and selling? And what is the narrative? So my colleague or my trade associate, his name is Leo. He wrote a trade analysis. When was that? That's actually my website, by the way. If you'd like to check out the trade of the week, quite handy. The people.
Okay.
Quite handy. It's free of charge. We don't charge people to check out the trades. We don't make money from signals. We just want to get people in that pay for the course itself to learn. But back onto USD CHF short, there was in the sort of first week of August where Leo pointed out that there's a COT signal to go short the USD CHF, and I also figured out that the SMB is starting to deleverage a little bit, so they're cutting down on their balance sheet. And I'm going to show you the balance sheet from the Swissy. And the forecast for the next month going forward is a little bit lower as well, and it's been slowly declining since April. Picked up a little bit in May and July, been declining. What that means is that the Bank of Switzerland, the national bank, is deleveraging. They're selling their assets. And when they sell assets, they bring francs back in. So you have an organic franc appreciation.
Like the Fed, so that's been behind the dollar rise too, with the Fed selling assets.
Bang on, exact same thing. So we have the sort of consolidation. You have a nice long-term sell signal from your COT analysis. They also know that the bank is selling assets to drive in CHF. You got a nice organic move lower, obviously, and so the trade worked out nicely, and I believe it's still got a little bit like the move to 94. That's the sort of stuff we look at when we look at trades. We try to get the whole picture together, see who the players are, see who's got more money in the market, who might be scared, or who might be euphoric to add to their positions, and then we find those trades.
Okay, COT is a very, very important part of your analysis, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So anything you want to wrap it with? Why don't you show your website again and the best way
Another thing I wanted to show.
Sure, go ahead, buddy.
One thing was on our own website, probably knew that from before. Speculators trading is when we have offers. Again, offers is limited to just teaching people how to do it. If we're just looking for signals, signals are free of charge. We don't want signal seekers down in our program. When people who are enthusiastic about learning how Forex market moves in the longer term in commodities. Also, the ForexLeague.com, who's my partner Alex, what he does and what me and he do, he's providing the technical analysis, and I do usually weekly sort of forecast of what we're looking at for the week ahead. You can go back for the last few weeks since I believe he started in about April. Might I say they've been quite consistently precise in what happens. I've tried to emphasize why things happen, so it's a bit more fulfilling knowing the logic behind news. And,
yeah, because then that's the only way people learn. I mean, if they just blindly take a trade, they wouldn't know how to repeat it if the same setup occurred.
Exactly, so that's right.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to cover here, buddy?
Big thanks again having me here. Big thanks to yourself, Dale, Blake, Daliatos, and all the people down at F.A.C.E. Great people. I always read your stuff and always try to contribute where I can as well. Again, thanks for having me here. Hopefully it's going to be soon back here with you again. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to shoot away and go for the rest of my holiday.
It's a deal for you to come back, my trading warrior brother, and I give a full-throated endorsement to your ethics and your effort to educate and teach people and give them a straight deal. So I'm a fan. I root for you, Miad. Thank you very much.
Sir. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Goodbye.
All right, buddy. Okay,
Take care.
F.A.C.E, that's it. Have a great weekend. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Enjoy the football this weekend. I'm going to try and get over my upper respiratory infection. I guess I'm not used to taking vacations. I get sick. So that's it. Thank you, everyone. And Friday is a great time to join ForexAnalytix so that you can navigate and be ready for all the action next week. I want to thank Steve, Stelios, Grega, Andre, Joe, Amanda, Blake, Paulie. Great initial week from Paulie. I don't know if I missed anybody, Grega, but you know, where could you find this much talent on one site? I challenge you to show me. I'll go check it out. And with that being said, enjoy your weekend, everyone. Thanks again, Miad. Check out Miad's work. He's very good, elite at what he does. See you later.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye.
All right, buddy.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.